She Who Roared for Mercy. Chapter 4. When Chicago chose to listen. For the first time since the creatures appeared, Chicago did not attack. The order moved through the military command structure. Weapons remained ready. Aircraft remained in the sky. Police officers continued protecting civilians. But nobody fired. The city was watching. Waiting. Listening. BJ stood near the shoreline with She Who Roared for Mercy beside him. The enormous creatures remained separated across the lake. None of them moved. None of them attacked. For several moments, the only sound was the wind moving across Lake Michigan. Then one of the approaching creatures roared. BJ listened. He could not understand every word. Not yet. But he heard enough. Fear. Confusion. A question. Why are you not attacking? BJ looked toward the creature. He stepped forward. Because we're trying something different. The creature tilted its enormous head. BJ continued. We're listening. Another roar. Why? BJ looked toward She Who Roared for Mercy. Because she asked us to. The creature became silent. BJ realized something. The creatures were accustomed to being attacked. They were accustomed to being feared. They were accustomed to being hunted. They did not understand mercy. Perhaps they had never experienced it. A military officer approached BJ. Sir, I need you to understand something. BJ turned. We have civilians all over this city. I know. If those creatures attack, we have to respond. BJ nodded. I agree. The officer seemed surprised. BJ continued. Mercy does not mean pretending danger isn't real. The officer listened. Protection matters. BJ looked toward the creatures. But so does understanding. He paused. James chapter 1 verse 19 teaches us to be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. The officer looked toward him. BJ continued. That's what we're trying to do. The officer looked toward the lake. I hope it works. BJ answered quietly. So do I. Then something unexpected happened. She Who Roared for Mercy stepped forward. The military immediately became tense. BJ raised his hand. Wait. She stopped. BJ looked at her. What are you doing? She roared softly. I am going to speak. BJ understood. She was going to communicate with the others. Not through him. Not through humanity. Through her own voice. BJ nodded. Go ahead. She lifted her enormous head. Then she roared. The sound traveled across the lake. It was powerful. But there was no aggression in it. No threat. No challenge. It was a message. BJ listened. I do not want war. One of the creatures answered. BJ listened. Why should we believe you? She responded. Because I have had many opportunities to destroy you. The creature became silent. She continued. And I chose not to. BJ looked toward the military. Nobody moved. She Who Roared for Mercy continued speaking. I am not asking you to trust me immediately. A pause. I am asking you to stop attacking long enough to hear me. Another creature answered. Why should we listen? Her response was simple. Because we are all afraid. BJ closed his eyes. That sentence struck him deeply. Not because it was complicated. Because it was true. The creatures began responding. One claimed that she who roared for mercy had betrayed them. Another accused her of bringing danger to their territory. Another believed humanity would eventually destroy them all. Another believed the only way to survive was to destroy everyone else first. BJ listened. One by one. Fear. Pain. Anger. Suspicion. Loss. Every roar carried a story. And BJ realized something important. The monsters were not united. They were divided by the same thing that divided humanity. They had different experiences, different fears, different memories, different beliefs about one another. Yet they had all reached the same conclusion. Nobody could be trusted. BJ looked toward the city. He thought about humanity. He knew people could make the same mistake. Sometimes people judged one another before listening. Sometimes fear became hatred before anyone understood the truth. Sometimes one painful experience became a reason to distrust an entire group. And sometimes people fought wars because they were convinced the other side would never listen. BJ whispered, "Lord, help us." A young woman standing behind the emergency barricade heard him. She looked toward BJ. "What did you say?" BJ turned. "I asked God for wisdom." She looked toward the creatures. "Do you really think prayer is going to help with this?" BJ smiled gently. "I don't know everything God may choose to do." He looked toward the sky. "But I know that I need His wisdom." The woman nodded slowly. BJ continued. "And Scripture tells us in James chapter 1 verse 5 that if any of us lacks wisdom, we should ask God." The woman looked toward the enormous creatures. "Then I guess that we all need His wisdom today." BJ smiled. "Yes, ma'am." Suddenly, one of the creatures moved. Military weapons immediately rose. BJ shouted, "Don't fire." The creature stopped. It lowered its head. Then something remarkable happened. It stepped backward. The city remained silent. Another creature followed. Then another. One by one, they moved away from Chicago. BJ watched. The first small step toward peace had been taken. But peace was fragile. Very fragile. Then she who roared for mercy turned toward BJ. Her expression changed. BJ immediately knew something was wrong. What? She looked toward the northern horizon. BJ followed her gaze. Nothing appeared at first. Then he heard it. A roar. Deep. Distant. Different from every roar he had heard before. She who roared for mercy became frightened. BJ's voice became quiet. "Who is that?" She answered. "The one who started everything." BJ stared at her. "The one you've been running from." She nodded. "The one who taught the others to fear one another." BJ looked toward the horizon. "Why is it coming here?" Her answer was almost a whisper. "Because it knows that you can hear us." BJ froze. "Me?" She nodded. "It knows that you can hear what the others cannot." BJ looked toward the city. Then toward the creatures. Then back at her. "What does it want?" She looked directly into his eyes. "It wants you to stop listening." The distant roar came again. This time, BJ heard something inside it. Not merely words. A deliberate message. A challenge. "You believe that you can bring peace." BJ stood completely still. The voice continued. "But peace makes you weak." BJ looked toward the horizon. The creature spoke again. Fear is stronger. BJ felt his heart beating faster. The voice continued. Turn them against one another. BJ shook his head. No. The creature roared. You cannot stop me. BJ answered. You are correct, not by myself. But I am not alone in this. He looked toward the heavens. Then toward she who roared for mercy. Then toward the creature beneath Lake Michigan. Then toward the others. And that's the point. The distant creature became silent. BJ continued. Peace isn't about one person controlling everybody. He looked toward Chicago. It's about choosing not to become controlled by fear. She who roared for mercy lowered her head beside him. The creatures watched. The city watched. BJ took a breath. Then he spoke the words he knew he would have to remember for everything that came next. We are not going to fight because you told us to. The distant creature roared. BJ did not move. We are not going to hate because you frightened us. Another roar. We are not going to destroy one another simply because we don't understand one another. BJ looked toward she who roared for mercy. And we are not going to confuse mercy with weakness. The city remained silent. Then something happened. One of the creatures lowered its head. Another followed. Then another. She who roared for mercy lowered hers. BJ stood in the middle of them. Human. Small. Vulnerable. But listening. And somewhere beyond the Chicago skyline, the creature who had created the fear finally understood something. It had underestimated the power of a voice willing to speak the truth. The war was no longer inevitable. But the real test had just begun. Because now BJ had to discover whether the creatures could remain peaceful when peace became difficult. And he knew the hardest lesson was still ahead. Forgiveness.